Okay. All right, everyone all set? So tonight's Oregon Accountability meeting will come to order. And Jennifer, if you please call the roll.
Carl Walzer,
Here.
Lori Fitzgerald here, Arlen Cobb,
Here.
Steve Jernigan,
I am here.
and Tim LeBrun.
Here. All right, thank you very much. We've got two sets of minutes in the packet. One is for the board meeting last month and the other is for a week ago with the road bid opening. Any questions about those edits? Anything like that?
You're just gonna use the adoption? I'm not objecting.
Okay.
Get adoption.
Okay, just.
Well, then we can move ahead.
All right, then without objection, the February 11th board meeting minutes and the March 6th road bid board meeting minutes are approved. Jennifer, do you want to talk about the financial report?
I added to the last minute addition was, we pay the septic fees back to the public health. That was a check I just added, it was for $14,755.68. So that was my last minute addition.
So
I
what is
apologize.
that? What does that mean?
When you guys have, on your tax bill, there's a fee, a small fee for the septic maintenance fees. We collect it and then we have to pay back. It's kind of like when we pay the school districts back.
Oh,
So we have to pay public health. It's a
Yeah.
pass through
okay.
and oftentimes I forget, so they send me a reminder.
Yes.
And then they sent me a reminder, so I wanted to make sure I got them paid.
Oh,
It's right here. So that was my last minute. And it was in my to-do notes and it got so buried so far down in my to-do notes that I forgot. So
any questions from anyone about the report or vouchers?
I'm at this table needs to get turned around because it's sitting in so I don't need to be like, so like here, but it's, yeah. Thank you.
I do have one quick question. How is the Pelletier thing going? From, according to budget, pretty good.
It is, but you have it.
Mhm.
There is remember we talked about this landfill fee?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is this landfill fee that I think personally is pretty high. I mean, I don't know what we can do about it, but
Isn't that the actual tipping
yes,
they charge us?
yes.
And then there's an additional charge there's an allocation in our regular fees. And the landfill fee kind of settles us up from the actual tipping fees. What we actually spend, we're gonna charge you $10,000. And then we're gonna see how much trash we end up with at the landfill. And if it's more than what we allocated in your $10,000, we're going to pass that along.
It's a landfill fee of $370.14. So what I think it is, what I understand it to be is when they get to the Dane County landfill, it's a fee that the Dane County landfill is passing along from them to us, is from what I understand. And so I don't know, like, what you're describing, I'm not sure if how that's calculated necessarily, if that's a percentage or if it's strictly, I'm not sure, but that's a fee we've never seen before. So it's $370 more per month than what we were paying last year.
Does that include
It's just a tipping, like it's just at the landfill.
just the stuff from residents, or does that include what gets dropped off and the residents pay at port for dropping
No.
off stuff for the landfill there?
Just
Okay.
curbside.
So,
It would be worth a conversation.
Yes.
For sure.
Or at least, yeah, yes, and that's probably should dig back into the original agreement.
Yeah.
It's gotta be specified there somewhere. I just don't remember what the language is.
Yeah,
It was a letter that was sent to us, yeah. And I think I talked about it, because it's like, that's an addition, because the fuel surcharge, we kind of always have.
Yeah.
Right, and
Which is $2.38, but that tipping fee is the one where,
yeah.
and that can add up.
Because that's $5,000 a year
Yeah.
if we're on that pace.
Yeah.
Does this have anything to do with the expansion of the landfill across 12 or to the old back nine of Yahara? Because there's a lot of brand new construction going on there as we speak. I don't know, I'm
my
just
hunch,
wondering.
without remembering the language in the agreement, is that, or the letter really, is that it is related to landfill charges to Pelletary and passed through to us. That's what I'm
Yeah.
assuming it is, but I
But I'm, you know, just trying to follow a trail of
It's
Yeah.
new
what's
since
the increase.
the contract renewal.
yes, it
And the
is.
contract renewal is like in June or July, isn't it?
Yeah, it's new since 2025. How about I will send an email and I will ask for either someone from Pelletary to come talk to us, or for an explanation of that fee and
Sure.
what.
was it Grace who's let us know or something?
Might be, it probably would be our rep, and I don't know who our rep is right now, our Pelletary rep. But I will follow up and I will ask, and maybe I'll either ask if they could come to the next month's meeting, or a more thorough explanation.
And tell me again, Jennifer, that increase is for what?
It's a landfill tipping fee. So from what I understand, it's for what they pay when they drop at the Dane County landfill.
Okay.
And didn't we have a set? So I guess it's checking to see what the set fee was before, and this is for taking stuff out of the torque and
No.
putting to the landfill?
No, it's just curbside.
Nothing to do with.
Curbside.
It's just curbside.
Yeah.
And that's on top of our regular charge. So our regular charge is around $12,000 in round numbers. And so this is an additional around $400, so about 3%.
$400 a month?
Yes. Because we based our budget on something, and I'm assuming that 300 and some dollars is almost $400 is above and beyond what we budgeted.
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so yes, short answer, yes, I think,
I don't think we knew, because I had no idea,
right.
because I think it was a percentage, and it was like,
Okay. Any other questions about the final agenda? So without objection, then from the report on update and motions are approved. Public comments, Steve, or anything?
Nothing. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so item 6 is discussion of possible action on the Raven Oaks bids. And those are in the pack.
Okay, congratulations. Bids came in under estimate. So the low bid is from Payne and Dolan for $446,209. $464,699. And this is for the entire subdivision except for 2 short cul-de-sacs. So, and this is doing the full pulverizing and laying full pulverizing cover and new blacktop. And this should be a 30-year investment. Of course, there will be maintenance over that time, but this is a good thing. It was a little panic stricken when we opened the first bid,
No kidding.
but
Absolutely.
this is this is what happens in single purpose or single item bids. I was looking through the cost per ton, or the big item is the paving itself. And Payne and Dolan certainly has an advantage of having their own blacktop plant. And not that far away from here, because they're at $65 a ton as opposed to the other one, two of them at about $80 and one of them at $112. I don't know how far away they have to haul or what they're paying at those terminals. But that makes it, certainly is making up a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
I would make a motion that we accept the low bid as recommended by the Road and Safety Committee. And moving forward.
Give you a second.
I have a question. Like I said.
Yep, yeah,
We'll do discussion. If there's a second, we can go on to the discussion. Tim?
yes.
Tim seconds. Okay, and discussion.
Okay, apples to apples is basically all the firms doing the same thing on the three different categories. I mean, I look at that variance when I know that how local Payne and Dolan is, but it was quite surprising what a range it was.
Someone like Bartelt, which was the highest bidder, buys from someone like Payne and Dolan.
Mhm.
And so, the other companies, at least Wolf and Payne and Dolan have their own plants, their own asphalt plants, and so they kind of cut out the middleman.
When that thought came in.
And Wolf, I think Wolf's closest operation is in the town of Burke
Okay.
by Sun Prairie. So
Okay.
that's a fair amount of trucking. That's what I have found, because we have done paving projects around,
Got it.
and that's Payne and Dolan has a leg up for
There's
sure.
an advantage to being so close.
They do.
It definitely is.
Well, thank you. And there's no other questions, I would second.
Okay, well, we already got it. So, any other discussion? Lori, Arlen, Ethan, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes, thank you. All right, item number 7, Arlen.
Yes, if you would, in our budget, we have 15,000 in for the crack fill. And if you go to page 21, you will see the map that Abel has put together. The either highlighted in yellow or circled in yellow are the roads that will be this year's crack filling projects. But this is something we have it approved in the budget, and we don't have a proposal yet, do we, Jennifer?
No, they usually don't. And when you say proposal, do you mean a contract for the crack filling? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Generally, it's kind of like a shake of the hand. They generally I just get a bill. That's kind of how it works.
Is that something we should be?
How much is this total spend?
15,000.
Oh,
So it's under the bid requirement.
threshold, yeah. What is the bid requirement?
25,000, but it's usually 25,000 to bid. But there is a limitation. I should look that up. We should look that up.
And who do we have do that? Crack filling?
Crack filling services.
They've been around for a long time. They really.
I don't know if you want to formalize it. I guess that's a question that you guys can decide, but they have not.
I mean, we approved it in the budget, and it's more maintenance than anything else. We're not building a building, we're not over the bid threshold, so I don't think we need to, well, we can't, actually, it's not even noticed as a vote, so, but I don't think we need to vote anyway.
Oh, so it's not noted for approval.
It's really already approved. This is just sort of information.
Okay, then we're waiting for the bill, we're working the bill.
I don't know if anyone else does that work.
Who else does?
I don't know. Does anyone else do the work?
Yeah, starts with an M, it's just one syllable, it's, no, all of a sudden it'll come to me, but that, they tend to be a pretty, they've been around for a long time too. I just can't remember the, Meigs, M-I-E-G-S, Meigs. So those two companies are, crack filling has been in the business for, they're a second generation, actually a third generation company.
Can I ask a question about the crack filling and I guess also about Raven Oaks? So once we get a schedule in place, is the plan to notify people in those areas? In Raven Oaks, it would be a notification again of more specific details. And in these areas, I don't know what the impact is going to be necessarily, maybe minimal, but it might be good to at least send them something. Say, hey,
I think we
this,
have plans on doing that.
oh, okay.
We had already discussed that, so I think that's Jennifer, unless I'm wrong.
Crack filling, we never have sent something. Usually it's pretty,
It's-
they're a bit minimal for crack filling. We've never sent anything, but for Raven Oaks, I think we did something.
We sent one letter already
Mhm,
a month or two ago to the Raven Oaks
mhm.
neighborhood people.
There'll be signs up early that.
No parking on the road or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
So they at least, I would say 10 days early, hey, they're coming out.
There was a little feedback, and again, I didn't talk to 500 people, but somebody did mention if there's work going on during graduation season, that'll be disruptive because parking is not great there, especially if you have a lot of people moving to your house. So just if possible, but I don't know what that means, you know. What does that mean? Does that mean June and July? Does that mean just June?
Yeah, is there a schedule for that work to be done?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So it's something to consider, but you know.
Well, once we know,
what it is.
now that we have approved Anadolu to be doing the work,
Right.
that conversation will happen
Yep.
as far as schedule.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, anything else on roads?
Abel mentioned that they took a look at that crack on Netherwood, and we've had some calls about that as well. Reflective cracking, is that what he called it? On Netherwood, is that what they're waiting for, that crack on Netherwood?
Well, that would be looking at seal coating
Yeah,
that would be-
next year,
next year.
so just in case anyone's asking about that crack on Netherwood,
That's
next
the
year.
crack telegraphing up from the cracks below.
Where is that? Is that out of town? It must be out of town. Must be.
I'm not sure where.
Up by Phil's old
On
house.
Netherwood.
I think so, yeah. We just had some, so they're gonna look at it again next year. So just in case, if you guys get any asks about it, it would be a next year.
Okay.
It's on our radar.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah.
So next year is the smaller maintenance projects, so we'll be looking at things like seal coating and or whatever patching.
Would it make sense to post something on the website? Always have like a schedule of, here's the road work that we should be, that we plan to do. Because then that's the reference. You can point somebody, oh, go to the website and look at this page.
For the 5-year plan.
Yeah, things like that, and anything, even the maintenance, like the crack sealing.
Yeah.
Or crack filling and this Netherwood issue, just stuff like that, you know, if we know about it and we know when we're gonna do it, it'd be good to have it available all the time.
Do we have anything on the I haven't looked website as far as the projected, the 5-year plan or any of the other work?
I don't think so.
Not yet, no, but we're gonna go live. We're just waiting until after the April election to go live with all set. But we didn't want it to be down because people are going to the website for the April election. So we just don't want it to be down for that, so.
I forgot that we're transitioning
Yeah.
to a new design.
Yeah, but
That's right.
I think we could have them maybe, in that meantime, maybe make a new page.
Sure,
I'll
yeah.
make a note, we'll have them make a new page just for road work.
I think that's a huge thing for people. And it might cut down on some phone calls to the office, yeah. You never know. Okay,
So that's something to announce at the annual meeting as well.
Okay, nothing else for item 7. Let's go to 8, the public works report. 8A is discussion of possible approval of the road salt purchase. And Jennifer, you put some information in the packet, it's on page 22.
And that is kind of tentative, right? They don't know if they're going to extend the contract or go out for bid, essentially.
So, yep, so how it works is we always so backwards. We tell them how much salt we want. They go out to bid and then they come back and tell us how much it's gonna be.
And we band together with.
Yes,
Across the state, it's part of the statewide contract.
yep.
Mhm.
So I put on page 28. That was the last year's, and it's a state contract, like you said, but this page 28 is just Dane County.
Ah.
And I think. So that's what we did last year. And I talked to Abel and he said, yeah, we should order that again this year.
Same
Uh,
amount.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, so I was trying to be like, okay, so did we? I suppose I could give him a call because I was trying to add up the invoices that I paid and what we had and are we gonna fit it all in the shed?
So
So,
we got a fair amount left.
yeah,
Right. I
yeah,
was gonna ask about usage,
Yeah.
because it seems to be trending down,
yeah,
but it also seems random. I mean, like, it could be random, like next winter could be horrible and we would need
Right.
more ice than we have, or more salt than we have.
so
But,
one of the things the guys talked about was, not to steal their thunder, but there is a wood chipper, an old wood chipper that they've had for a really long time that is taking up space in one of the sheds.
Okay,
And, those wood chippers tend to be pretty unsafe, and I don't know if you guys have heard, but one of a public works employees actually got a hand stuck in one of the wood chippers. And so it's probably to the point where the town should look at probably getting rid of that wood chipper and maybe when they need one, maybe renting something with that's got more of the safety features that they would need. And if we got rid of that, the guys talked about getting cement blocks and having an area that they could store sand in, because there's sometimes where we just need pure sand. And they used to mix it, but that's not always really good because that tends to not, so then they could use that area that's now being taken up by that,
Wood chipper.
yeah, for just sand, because sometimes they need just sand when it's really, really cold. So that could be kind of that. But you never know when you need salt until you
Okay.
need it and then you don't have it, so.
What is our average or high-low consumption that we've had in the past? I think you quoted it before, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, since I've worked here, I think there was one time where we've had to go and I would black market and I had to buy it at the black market when it was a really bad time and we just couldn't get salt. There was one time.
When
We just-
everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody
There was
ran.
only-
And it was like black ash and I mean, you're finding weird things, probably like the brine and cheese and stuff that you were putting on them. But there was one time that I know we didn't have enough. We have trended down, but then what they tend to do to make it last longer is put sand, mix sand in.
Mhm.
They didn't mix any sand at all with the salt this year. So to make it last longer is what they have done in the past. So they didn't.
Okay, but that gets back to the question, what has been the typical purchase? Or usage, typical usage?
Well, that's a loaded question because why it's a loaded question is how much salt do you want laid down on the road?
Yeah.
right.
Make it last or we use it as we have it sounds like. So.
Do you want a lot of salt laid down on the road? Because some people want a lot of salt, some people want a little bit of salt.
I mean, I think it makes sense to have enough salt on hand. And I'm saying this without knowing what it takes to fill our space. but enough that it fills the space. So that we don't run out, because that's gonna be worse and that's gonna cause more flow back. Than if we have extra salt carry over to the next. one.
I can look and see what our salt storage is. Just a second, let me grab my.
Yeah, but we have a lot. I drove by the garage there and we have
As much in.
a fair amount in there.
Yeah, I think we've only been like. Low single digit number of storms where it was needed.
Yeah,
It just
Yeah.
wasn't needed that much.
and I think we pay for it, whether we use it or not. I think
Oh, we buy it and then put it in the shed.
we do, but we also have some on reserve at the vendor. And, so I think we spend that money, whether we take it from our reserve or not.
So,
I guess that's,
Our reserve, we don't have to purchase.
We don't.
No,
We just,
our reserve is, yeah,
Okay.
our reserve, we don't have to purchase, so yeah, we don't purchase that, we, as 20% is what we get that as a guarantee, so that's the good thing about that reserve,
Mhm,
is we always get 20% that we don't have to purchase.
that's nice.
Yes, so our shed holds 250 tons.
Okay.
So,
so we couldn't even fit 350 in there then. Oh, well, right,
If it
and
were-
and it's got salt in it now. So we can't, I don't know.
How much is a ton, do you know? How many dollars do we spend for a ton?
I wanna say it was $93.53 this year for a ton,
$93.
$93.53.
Okay, so
Yes,
$100 a ton.
yes, yes.
So that's about $35,000 of salt that the contract allows for, plus an additional $700 on reserve. That's the spend.
okay. And right now, we don't need to buy any.
We don't need an early fill, if that's what you're asking. We don't need an early fill, no, because it looks like on page 28. Again, it looks like we've only taken 130 ton this year. From what I calculated, again, I would need able to confirm that number.
But what do we have left? Let me see again. Roughly.
Well, we only took 130, we only
Yeah.
took 130 tons so far this year,
Mhm.
So we
out
would,
of the 350 plus 70.
so that would mean that we would have 220, which would basically fill up the shed.
Yeah.
So we would probably end the season with a full shed. So we would need no early fill and we'd have a full shed.
I think we gotta take 100 less.
If we can get to, I mean, if there's a reserve and we're able to get,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right, I mean, you would have a little less you'd have a little less in your reserve, but I mean, when Arlen says you can look a little bit at, your other municipalities, and you can see where you can see where you are in relationship to
Yeah.
them.
We're taking more, yeah.
Rutland takes 280, for instance, Dunn
Right,
takes 310, 309. So,
Does the DOT give any kind of a recommended amount to project based on
Per mile or
per
something.
mile and?
I've not
how
seen
many
that.
major snowstorms you might, that would. So just look at what everybody else ordered is about, is.
And I don't know, you'd have to probably also look at what their miles are,
Right.
what these,
Yeah.
we currently are the highest order for towns in the county.
Yep.
Currently, by 50 tons.
The only one closest Westport. So actually, well, Westport and Coxborough. that would be it.
And
so Jennifer, do you need,
so here's how it works.
Middleton is a little bit.
Here's how it works, is
So, yeah.
I have to submit this to them by the date I think she gave us is
Also nice.
March 24th. So it's gonna be before next board meeting.
okay,
So I would like you guys to tell me, and if it's 100 less, that's fine, and if Abel finds that to be, then he can come back to you guys and say that, but that's totally fine. I just wanna know so that I can submit it there, because I don't wanna miss out on, obviously, getting into the contract.
Yes, I move that we move to a 250 ton order and consider having sand available if we need to stretch it. And then we would still have 50 tons on reserve, which we don't have to pay for.
I would second that.
Steve seconds that. Any other discussion?
Give it 250 plus a
Plus,
50,
plus 50.
but that's still, and right now we have.
350 plus 70. We'd be going
We
to,
have 230 still in the shed.
no, it's not a lot. I don't wanna,
Cut it off. But,
yeah, I don't wanna go cut too deep.
Okay,
we're not out, we're in March, I mean, I know the golf courses are open, believe it or not, but
You still
I
have
remember
That's-
driving moving to Arizona 7 years ago and getting stuck in Des Moines, April
Oh,
28th
yeah.
because it
Oh,
was 50
that's
inches of
all very
snow.
true.
we have.
That-
We're not,
that
so
amount-
there's,
And the boys' basketball
so I don't know how much, yeah, we're gonna be using some, but I
Yeah,
don't
for
think
sure.
that much, and I think I like
That's
to-
the whole
I like to-
problem.
I think we could get a long way into a season with what we have in there. And we would have on order enough to fill an empty.
When would that
Garage.
be delivered?
They place orders when they need it. So it's not delivered at any certain time. They order it throughout the year. So it's,
Okay, so this is, they're buying on the spec market. We have it on somewheres in some Milwaukee or some other, or a barge in Dubuque that is waiting for us.
Yeah, when we need it. We don't all of a sudden have a barn full and a big pile sitting outside waiting to be used.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, 8 PE, excuse me. Discussion possible approval of the Public Works Summer LTE position. And Jennifer, is this Ryan's son again?
Yeah.
likely?
yes. He will be 18.
So you can use whatever
Right.
equipment you couldn't use last week.
Yes.
All right, that's a good thing. Do you, we put this in the budget, I assume.
Yes. Mhm.
So we don't need, do we need to approve, I forget his name, Zayden?
What's that?
What's his son's name? Zayden?
Caden?
Caden, that was.
Yep.
Do we need to approve his hiring him or?
So I guess I just wanted to make sure everyone's okay with it. Normally we had him mow the parks, but the guys have, thought that there would be other work such as what I was talking about, maybe helping with that cinder block, so we could have that area for the sand, so
Mhm,
helping with that.
yeah.
There were some things, so up to maybe some extra, up to 30 hours per week. So that would just, so in addition to mowing, and then with that Raven Oaks project, there'd
Right.
probably be some additional
Mhm.
time. So, I mean, so as long as the board is okay with, having him work some hours that might be outside of mowing the parks.
I think that also relieves, both gentlemen, things that they would have to do extended, so I think it's a good idea.
I'm not sure if we even need a vote on this, I don't think so.
As long as everyone's okay with that, yeah.
Okay, any objections to that?
I just want to make sure that when we're talking about other duties as assigned, that we don't have him running equipment that he's not trained on and things like that. That's all.
Okay, sounds good to everyone then? All right, sounds great. Can I stretch the intent of 8B for a second? Does the office need any limited term employment for the summer?
No, not, I mean, we need election help. That's what we're gonna get, but I will probably have some time just to try and use up some vacation that we couldn't get last year.
Right.
I think we're gonna have some days that we're gonna. When we tend to be busy, we tend to be busy at the same time, and then when we tend to not be busy, we tend to not be busy at the same time, so that's when we tend to like try to use our vacation. So it's best it just doesn't seem to work where we can't both not be gone at the same time, so it's best in the summer for both of us to be gone. So, I mean, other than someone to sit here and answer the phone, but that doesn't seem like a really good use of someone's time,
Right.
so
Okay,
that would be the only thing, but
okay, so that's
train
fine.
someone to do that, I don't know that that's really worthwhile at this point,
Okay,
so.
okay,
you
good to know. And we can talk about the
Yeah.
other things, all the other
Yeah.
staff things at the meeting that
Yeah.
we schedule. Okay, sounds good. All right, 8C, update on the equipment costs, and I believe we're pointing to page 30 on that. And so Jennifer, did you put this together, correct?
Yeah, so this was our original that we talked about during budget time.
Mhm.
Um. So the guys were talking to me about some equipment and I was like, come again? So I was kind of hoping to circle back to them about some of the equipment that they were hoping to get, but they got a trailer and then they had a stump grinder on there. So I think we just I was hoping that we could get some of this, since we now have our road bid, we wanted to get a financing package together. So trying to get all of those numbers being pretty accurate so we could get that loan applied for and get the money. So we have that all ready when we're ready to pay for the road work. So I think that's on here, but I don't have the numbers to make sure that, obviously, we talked about this in November and now we're here in March that.
Well, we've got the numbers on the snowplow,
Yeah,
right?
but like, so
not
now
the
it's
other
the
things.
trailer. And that was because they bought a new skid steer.
Right,
So we need to make sure that number is accurate. The stump grinder, I think that went from a split between 4 towns to maybe a split between 3 towns or. So we need to get the guys to give us,
The lowdown. on
yeah,
that. Mhm.
and then the office is number D, so then we need to talk about that. To circle back to that once we get some better numbers from the guys.
okay. Do they know that you need those numbers?
Yeah, I'll remind them.
And I thought they had numbers for the trailer too. Wasn't that carryover from about a year ago? More, whenever they got the skid steer. Wasn't that sort of related? Maybe they didn't get a quote though.
Yeah, I think so, but I know they told me that, I think the stump grinder went up a little bit, $500 more, so that's,
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
And if it's only split between 3 towns,
Yeah,
it'll be another $1,000.
that's why I wanna, that's what made me put it on the agenda, is that I wanted to.
Mhm. And that's in for 26. But are we gonna put it in?
Right, that's
To
why,
25?
yeah, right, that's why, cause I think that's why we need to know, what are we doing?
Sure.
Because it's left on there, it's not crossed out, but it's for a 26 purchase, and so I wanna know, cause I think they wanted it. Instead of the grapple bucket, I think that's, so we need to. Them and their equipment, hard to,
Put them down on that.
yeah,
Okay. Do you need any action on this? It's
I
just,
don't,
it sounds like
it was
they-
just more
it's
of
just
like
information.
getting all of us on the same page with. The boys and their toys.
Okay, so then let's move on to 8D, and that is the public works office and storage space.
If you remember, where we left off on this was that Arlen did all the work, and then we decided that we were gonna buy. Or we were at the time going to do the mobile for putting the boxes in. We got all the boxes moved back into the space here. And then we started to talk to the guys and they decided that, well, we started to talk and they were like, well, the boxes fit really well in here. Maybe instead of doing the mobile mini for restoring the boxes, could we just get a mobile mini for just them having their office and putting it there is a door that is in the back of the garage. And could they put something like a trailer, like if you see a work site that has an office,
Mhm.
could they do something like that?
A job site trailer.
Yes. That was the
Which
option.
is what this is just one more firm. You know, the mobile mini is still the same. We're basically the same office type thing. Since there's a number of companies doing this, well, here, first off, my question was, is our storage issue solved? Record storage, do we have adequate space for the records that we have and we have to maintain?
For right now,
For right now, and then start looking into the future a little bit. If we're going digital on new stuff, what is it, that we're gonna be adding to what we've got?
well, we'll always be adding boxes forever, because we'll always be storing boxes. So forever we'll add boxes.
We'll be adding boxes every year.
Because you always have to have there are certain records you always have to keep permanently. And then we'll always be getting rid of things because there are things that we can keep. It's always a rotating cycle. There's a retention schedule. So you always be like rotating things through.
Good,
So, adequate, I think it would just be probably a better job of rotating through a schedule, of keeping things permanent and then rotating through. So I think it will be better. Yes, I think it will be better because I think we can do a better job by having a better space and being able to get in and out better.
everything is in here now.
And then election stuff is there, and I think that will be better because you'll have them separate, and election stuff you don't keep forever. So it will be better to keep them separate, and then you can, and that has eliminated some of that storage space issue because we've been able to not have to keep everything in one area. We've been able to spread it.
Okay, so we've got the two closets.
Yeah, and that's
One's
helped.
election, one's general.
Yeah, and that's helped.
Government,
Yeah.
and the third closet,
Is the chair closet, but if we can if we had to, we would push the chairs out and then we would take over that as well. Yep,
so that's a reserve,
yeah,
and having the chairs out is not a bad thing anyway.
yeah, right.
So I'm hearing, for the record, that with the workaround that we have, the two spaces that are 2 to 3 spaces that we have is going to be adequate into the foreseeable future.
Foreseeable future, yes.
And it's also going to be requiring to be maintaining and pitching things as they become obsolete or can be pitched.
Yeah, yes,
And that's a time factor.
yep, 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 Yes.
And that we don't have historic. We do have historic things such as who's buried where.
That's the
cemetery
permanent
records and-
storage.
yeah, we do
That's
have
permanent.
permanent stuff, yeah. I mean, at some point, we may want, like, I mean, there's still stuff in the vault, like what's out there.
That is a joke.
As jokey as it might be, there is still stuff out there.
There's still stuff
It
out
has
there
to
that should
be
be out of there.
It probably should be.
It should be
Yeah.
removed from the,
I don't know what's in there.
Are we just
I mean-
afraid to throw it away
Yeah,
at the moment?
we don't know it should be,
okay, it should be looked at.
Yeah.
And dealt with.
yeah, that's what it should be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mouse haven, if it isn't a mouse haven, I'd be very surprised.
Arlen, can I ask you, going, I think along the lines that you're going, when we were talking about this in the past, we were figuring the space need growing by 50% or doubling or something like that with all of these things?
That was, if you see my little note there, it was trying to add up what we had
Right,
demand for,
right.
what we knew we had,
Mhm.
and then say, giving it a 50% growth factor,
Right.
or just a 50% extra space factor. That was, And that was up for debate and discussion.
Mhm.
So
I think we'll be
that was-
good.
I think the key to it is the record retention
Yeah.
and disposal of fire
Yeah,
or shredding, you know,
Yeah.
whatever has to happen to them.
and I think getting a good system in place, I think it will be good to get a good system.
Right.
Or I think the key is going to be a good system.
okay, having a good system. Goals are nice, implementation is even nicer. Now that gets back to what the room was originally set aside for, was the Public Works Office.
Right.
So now I'm seeing a discussion here of this, and again, I'm seeing from the notes that there, or from the discussion, that I'm afraid that there's we need to make sure that there's adequate space, because it's not just having a desk in each end of a trailer and no space for the plan files or what, all the things that they have to keep track of as well. And if we're gonna be having this again, we're gonna be adding utilities to it. If they're talking about doing something out the back here, out the back here is a septic.
Mhm.
And there's a zoning thing down there that we can't be too close to the railroad tracks.
Right.
So there's still some things to be checking out, as well as there's other suppliers that we're at the point where do we not need bids? And then decision as to just how big. Or are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do this at all?
Mhm.
If so, how big?
Right.
How much? And how fast?
Take consideration, you've had small discussions on what if new town hall in a different place, you gotta be very careful what type of money you wanna put into expansion, and all of a sudden we're thinking of getting a different facility.
It could be repurposed though.
Yeah,
That would take a very long
you
time.
know what,
At warp speed, that would take a long time.
Yeah.
Something like a trailer could be repurposed.
Yeah.
Even at a
Yes.
different site.
Even at the torque.
I'm sure,
Sure.
yeah,
I'm not,
but I hear what you're saying. Do you,
just, I'm just throwing that out there.
do you know if Abel or and or Ryan talked about how much space they would want in?
So on page 39, Abel said, I may have been wrong on how big, thinking more of an 8x24, 8x36. Looking at 2 workstations, so the desk can be on each end. Yeah, he put looking ahead to the future, so looking at use for a recycling center, so he was thinking windows as well. So, yeah.
Yes.
And then looking at, maybe, like, we were thinking if it could have some furniture or like if they, desks or something. I guess the thought is, would this be the less costly option than trying to break through that wall and trying to move the utilities and then still having to put the boxes in a trailer and.
I think it would be more cost effective to do it this way, for sure, and it would be most easily repurposed.
It's gonna get them a clean space, which is what I think that the goal was, to get them a clean space for them to have, if that's.
Okay, fine.
I would also throw into the mix here that I do think at some point there needs to be a third employee in Public Works and really a third in the clerk's office too. So with the dimensions of a trailer going bigger rather than smaller, that would be a smart move.
Just a question, has the workload changed that would justify, and what specifically? We don't have more roads, we don't have more parks, we don't have more of anything from my perspective. What Because someone's gonna say, why do we need another public works employee?
I think but we also do farm out work to other plow drivers in the winter and summer help in the summer. That's usually, I think, not full work week. So I think there's already more work than there is that can be covered by 2 permanent staff members. And I think some things don't get done. And I think there's a difficulty with any group of 2 employees. Like Jennifer's talking about, vacations sometimes have to happen at the same time. 4-day by 10-hour weeks leaves a day open. So I think there's already a pressure on covering the operations in both departments that already exists. And I don't know how you do that without. I mean, you could do it with part-time people, I suppose, but then you wouldn't retain any kind of knowledge as those people go on to something else. I really think there's a benefit to having a third person in each spot in each department. So that's why I'm coming.
I just
from,
think we
is
need to be,
coverage.
we need to be able to be very clear why we would add staff. That's all. That's the point I'm getting at. I guess I'm not debating whether we need to add staff or not. It's more about if we add staff, I think we just need to be clear about why that is.
Yeah, and that'll be more discussions as we get.
Yes.
This is not for now. You know,
Sure.
We're not trying to add anybody now. But I'm just trying to say, as far as infrastructure goes, as far as this particular item, the trailer item, the potential is there that there could be a third person that needs to occupy it.
Do you have a?
I would look at this as being a short term. This right here,
The trailer,
yeah,
and what would be long term?
like I was thinking like your talk about the town center would be long term.
Well, but that's also, okay, it depends on how you define short and long term, because even a town center, to get it researched and eventually built and occupied is not a year out.
Yeah.
You know, that's 5,
Yeah,
10.
that's a 5 or 10
Yeah.
year.
It's approved now, it's 5 to 10.
Yeah, so it's not, so I think we'll be having a trailer for a while.
Yes.
But I also don't know, if and when we can afford a third person or additional staff,
Well,
so I
and then-
don't know.
And then what does
Sure.
does that person need a workstation?
Right, I don't know.
I'm just,
I would assume yes, but.
I mean, yeah, and they can cycle through, I mean, what they have right now, this will be a step up.
Oh, true.
Well, it's a step up,
Yeah,
we
for
are
sure.
also gonna make sure that there is, that for getting the step up, what should the step be? And making sure that there is room for the file cabinets, the plan files, the
Mhm.
you've got the computers, you've got there's gonna be stuff.
And I have to say, I don't know how
There's gonna be
often,
needing that they're not taking into account right now, they're taking
Mhm.
account that they're getting a chair and they're wheeling up to a desk.
right,
And let's make sure we have everything taken care of, that we
And-
don't overdo it or underdo it.
And I would say with that, with what you're saying though, I think like filing and doing things like that also is time consuming. So how much time are they gonna be spending doing those things? So, I guess we might not need those things if they don't spend a lot of time doing those things.
and I don't know what,
Let's find out what they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know what
because
they spend.
if that, you know what I'm,
right, I don't know how much
That would be-
office time they
yeah,
use now.
yeah, I would try and find that out.
Yes.
And maybe,
Let's find out.
maybe it just has to be, maybe just 2 desks, and that either
There might
fully
not,
meets what they need now, and in the future it could be, like, I think you said rotation, like, you could share a workstation or something like that. I just don't know how often they're in front of a computer.
I don't know, there's a lot of filing or a lot of need for a lot of storage that they're, so I would,
I would be
I-
anticipating it'd be, well, just, what is it that they need for the roads?
So do we need to move this to the building committee to follow up with?
I think that would be good, but have the building committee act swiftly and set a target for having this done this summer.
Hmm. Because we've been talking about it for 2 years probably.
We just need to know if you're gonna add this to the financing with the roads, we would need to do that. If we're gonna put that in that financing package,
Right.
we would need to know that now.
What's-
Or if
what's-
you're gonna take it out, the amount of money was in that with the financing package. To add this project in with, and if you wanna take it out, that's totally fine.
What was the dollar amount?
We originally had put $15,000 in there for purchasing this, or for. And that looks like that's not going to be enough,
Right.
so,
And this is from a business out of Illinois, out of Shanahan, Illinois.
There's a number of different options.
Yeah.
Satellite is in there.
oh, I'm sorry,
Mini's
I'm sorry,
in
it's
there.
$40,000 and then 50,000, so
Yeah.
40 and then 15, so,
Wasn't it?
It looks like this.
yeah, so it would be
Locally, when-
55,000, I think is what we had in that financing package.
I have no idea. As far as-
Yeah.
What is now? Do we have to decide this tonight?
No,
Or do-
not tonight, but 55,000 is what we had in there. Is the project going to cost more than 55,000?
55? That's what you have in the,
It's what within that $800,000 umbrella that we were.
okay, so there's a target, there's a placeholder there at 55.
Yes.
Yes, but we're gonna be, one of the next agenda items is what we want to borrow now that we know the road work. We
And
don't
do
have
we
to
include
decide that
this?
tonight, yes. And do you want to include this? And,
Just so I track with the 14,000, that was if we were to build.
no,
No, no.
15,000,
The trailer is the Bobcat trailer.
yeah.
The office,
Okay,
15,000, just
got it,
before
40,000, okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
we'll-
building, essentially, building an office in an existing
That's what I,
facility.
it's, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it said 14 instead of 15.
And then
15 is what I
down.
meant for that.
And then down below where it says town hall, that
Yeah.
40,000 goes. A separate structure.
Right.
Yeah, so if you added those two together, you would get 55, and that would be where you could then use that to,
Because originally we had talked about building an office under our roof, you know,
Right.
just part of the garage or whatever it is.
Right behind you, that door.
Yes, building an office and then getting one of these mobile minis
Yes.
just for record storage.
Correct.
And now we've got our record storage, we've had that conversation, we're down to Public Works office.
Right.
With some record storage,
With.
or whatever.
That'd be possible. in that way.
Yeah. I think 55 is more than enough, we can look at
It looks like it, just from
It looks like
the
it.
estimates in here, it looks like it's more than enough.
Well,
But
let's make
if we-
sure that, well, we also have to hook up utilities to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so add.
as long as, I mean, as long as that's, I mean,
Let's for sure keep it in there. I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
I would not want
and
to
we're
put this
okay
off.
with going maybe this direction, because the guys are kind of looking into this, if that, they were good with this, and if the board's good with this, I know that would be kind of.
I think so.
I mean, let's get the building committee
Yes,
convened quickly
Yeah.
and get, and corner Ryan and Abel and staff here to be looking at what, making sure everything is there.
yeah,
Because it's, I hate to get something, oh, if only we had 2 more feet,
Yeah,
right,
or we've got 10 feet too much.
right,
yeah.
right. So we can try to come back with a proposal then maybe in April.
Yes,
And that
and
should be, the timing should be fine.
Yeah,
Because you said late by the latest, September at the latest, right?
yeah, we just wanna get, well, yeah, we wanna get paid and Dolan paid at some point.
Right, okay.
And if, now, just for, since this is more than 25,000, we would need to put this out to bid.
No, because we're purchasing it. So we don't have to go to bid for anything, we're purchasing. We're buying it.
So we can shop around
Mhm.
and see, and 'cause
Yeah.
there's other companies that
Yeah.
are providing these this equipment.
Okay. The very first thing is to check out any kind of zoning restrictions.
That we have to do.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that'll move to the building committee. Returning next month. Anything else on that before we move on? And then item number 9, we talked about it a little bit already.
Is it in the right order?
It's on page 43, I think.
Okay, so I put in there the steps that we take to get the money from the Board of the Commissioners of Public Lands. So the first thing we do is on page 44, we fill out a form. We basically tell them how much money we want to borrow. So this is what I'm trying to come up with. We decided 800,000, but I would like to firm up those numbers to make sure this is exactly what, now that we have the road bids in, and all of that. Once we have those numbers, then I fill out this form. Once we have it, we send that in, they go to their board meeting, and then they give their approval. That approval comes back to us. The board passes a resolution, actually approving borrowing that amount.
Okay. So the process is just itself, the process is about 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And, well, let's see. Go back to it. So we need the numbers from Abel and Ryan. We need to sort out the numbers for the job site trailer. We've got the numbers for Andover. So we missing.
So the 800 that we have here, though. We don't have 800 of our own, right? Because we crossed off some things.
I think the things we've crossed out was when it was over. I think the
Okay.
total is everything that's not crossed out.
Okay, that's right. The
Yeah.
snow plow is in there.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
yeah. So I think everything crossed out. I think everyone had their Christmas list,
Right.
and then we went through and we said, that's too expensive, and we crossed off things that, but I left them in there, so it was just sort of like, well, those are things we were kind of not getting.
Now, this new snowplow, that is maybe delivered in 26, maybe delivered in 25, maybe 27. I mean, I heard that there was a lot of float in
Right.
a delivery date.
Yeah, do you recall?
Is that going to affect?
The most current is?
I thought he said that the snowplow truck is March. I didn't hear anything different, but I thought he said last month that March was when the truck was ready. But that once it got to Monroe, that Monroe putting the equipment on might be a year.
Yes, that's my understanding.
So I guess,
vaguely remember 2026, but I'm.
right, but that would be a lot for the town to float, to not have the money ready for a 3-month window. So I would be hesitant to not take that money out if you're asking to not
Right.
have that money.
Okay, so if it's delivered to Monroe
This month.
this month,
Yeah,
we write them a check for some of it.
it sounds from what Abel said, it sounds like we don't write them a check until the whole thing is complete. That's what Abel said last month.
And if we borrow the money for that snowplow, let's say we got the money, takes 2 months, we got that money in June,
Well,
end of May.
yeah,
And we don't get our truck until next March.
we.
We are sitting with a savings account.
Mhm.
We put it into.
We
CD.
can't borrow, we can't take 800 less 275 until we need the 275.
You could potentially, you honestly, you could always do the same process again.
But-
The Bureau of Public Lands will let you borrow at any time. So to your point, if you wanted to wait, you could go back and you could do the same process we're doing right now, and you could do that again. If you wanted to wait.
And all I'm thinking is, Monroe, or whoever we bought the truck from, has really given us a moving target of years.
Yes.
And so if they have to wait 2 months to get paid, I would rather not borrow money 10 months in advance. And just so we have it when they decide it's ready. That's all.
Should
Unless it-
we
unless it's
ask
ready
Able
early.
should we ask Able to confirm that?
Yes,
That's a good
Okay,
idea.
let's ask Able to confirm the date of that snowplow truck payment and,
And delivery date, yeah.
yeah.
So,
ask them to
because,
confirm
what if
payment.
also Monroe's like, oh, things really lightened up and now we're gonna have your truck for you and.
But I mean, even if it's 2 months, I mean, if
Oh,
we
that's
take
true,
2 months.
that's true,
Yeah.
2 months, or
okay.
2
Well,
plus,
well,
yeah.
let's get back to the intent of having this note, a large note
Mm.
this year, so that we're not borrowing again next year. So we're trying to keep our tax roll, or our tax
Mm.
levy
You'll still
steady
be
and
okay.
not spiking.
You'll still be okay. You'll still be replacing a loan because of the large amount with the road.
Yes.
You'll still be replacing that same amount with this, the loan you're replacing. Is the 2021 loan that we just paid off is the 361, let me see, go back. I don't know what the loan payment will be because we haven't decided the terms or what the interest rate is. But the loan you're replacing is the 2021 roadwork and equipment, which is this one right here. That's the loan we're replacing. So you're talking about, yes, that. It was 115,000. That was the payment we made. So that's the one we're replacing.
at 2.5%.
Yeah, don't look at that.
I know, and that's why I'm choking a little bit about on borrowing 800, which includes 275,000 that we may not
It could
need
sit.
for dang near a year.
Mhm.
I'm just choking on it because I know it's gonna be at, what did we figure?
Five.
Five,
Or
Okay.
something.
more than double what we. So that's how, that's. the
You could have
only-
a savings account that earns a little bit. I mean, it's
Okay,
the.
well,
Yeah.
let's find out. And a plan is to not borrow for something that's a year out.
Right, until we need it.
And we can-
And we know it takes about, once we need it, it takes about 2 months to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
And they're
That's perfect.
certainly gonna let us know when we're inside a window that says, truck's almost done, should be ready in 60 days.
right,
Then we can start the process. Start eating up that time, and if we need to, ask for an additional 30-day term and.
Yeah. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, you need anything else?
No, that
Sounds
sounds
good.
perfect.
Feel comfortable?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Yeah, that sounds, I'll talk to Abel. I'll just get confirmation. Maybe I'll even get the guy's name from Monroe, so we can just have it maybe even on. Just so they know.
Yeah,
It'd be perfect. I know that they were trading emails or something with
Yeah.
the Monroe guys, so if we could get it in an email,
Yeah,
that'd be ideal.
I like 525,000, a lot more than 800,000. I'm Ricky too,
it'll make that payment seem a little bit like replacing the payment we have.
Yeah.
It'll be a little bit less.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a definitely.
And when we borrow the extra money, we'll be able to say, we're buying this new truck. We need that money for this new truck, just one thing,
Right.
truck.
I mean, really, we've already said that.
Yes,
It's just a
we have.
timing, it's just a timing,
Yes.
so it's not a new purchase, so I don't. we don't
It's just that
have to worry about
when taxpayers here were borrowing money,
Mhm.
they don't remember necessarily
Right.
that we already talked to them about it, it's just the time has come.
That's
The
true.
interest rate was really low, it would be different.
Well, true.
Yes.
That's very true.
Yeah, I'd be,
But it's not. But it's not,
Unfortunately.
it's also not 15%, so.
right, very true.
5 isn't. Okay, let's go on to the fire and EMS reports. The only thing I have for Belleville is that meeting, I still don't know what time, well, you two are not gonna be able to make it anyway.
Right.
On the 24th. Sometime on the 24th is that meeting.
Well, I've got,
In the evening.
let me just back up. I'm able to make it.
Oh, okay.
I just kind of chose not to. If you need me there, I'll definitely be there.
Well, I
If
think we'll
not,
have,
We'll have three, and I don't even know if we need a quorum. If, other than if you wanted to hear it directly. Having said that, though, you're involved in the Oregon, so it's not,
But
I think the three of us will be there.
I just, if it was necessary, I'd be there.
Okay. That's all I have, that's all I know about for Belleville. I think,
Can I
most
just
of
have a
the
question?
information in here is what was in the previous packet too, I think.
I think there was a brief discussion with Oregon on whether or not we ran into a snag here,
Mhm.
whether or not Oregon could cover us. Is this correct?
You mean for Belleville?
Yes, for
And I think-
our portion of Belleville.
And
I can
so,
answer-
yes,
I can answer that, the conversation I had with the chief, just.
And before you do
days
that-
ago, right when you're done.
I know that relationship has been around for a long time, that little portion is served by Belleville.
Mhm.
I don't know how long, but I think it's been a really long time. Long enough to be before Brooklyn had the structure that they currently have. And I would like to be able to ask Brooklyn the same question as to whether or not they could support us on that little portion of Belleville. Just like we've talked, a very brief conversation
Right.
with Oregon.
Right.
I just think we're at a sensitive time to be asking the village for support.
Mhm.
Cause I don't wanna get into, we helped you when you needed it. We need you to help us when we needed it. And so I just wanna make sure that we are looking at all the
it's
options.
not a bad idea.
So,
That's fine. I think that makes tons of sense. And I don't know that our conversations have gone anywhere with, well, you might have an update, it sounds like, but beyond what you heard, there hasn't been much. It's been trading a couple emails and that's. about
I
it.
asked the chief directly and didn't, I've got a lot of questions about if we stayed, if we go, what would happen, the money that we currently pay to Belleville, would this be split up amongst the other two fire stations? I didn't go that route with Glenn at all, but the first thing I asked him is, said, okay, if we did that, we've got 63 residents out there, or 63 people, human beings, I don't know how many
Yeah.
residences. Would there be any negative things happening due to call times, time to
Right.
calls it? And he said basically absolutely not. The stations, whether it's Belleville or Brooklyn or whatever, because of the countywide system we have,
Right.
there would be no difference in response time. I appreciate what you said about the idea that maybe it's not a great time. Expecting something back, that doesn't bother me one bit, because I can say no pretty easy, but I just wanted to talk about response time. You said there really wouldn't be much response time.
That's interesting to me because that was my main question about it. Is that group of town residents going to take a hit on response?
And they have their system where it's going to be covered. I know personally, waking up on the floor and seeing 5 different departments looking at me, so what the hell do I mean?
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. But I think talking to Brooklyn too makes tons of sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
We can see what on the map there. Where Brooklyn, how close Brooklyn gets,
Mhm.
and it is not beyond their borders, their current borders at all, and we are on the edge of Oregon's borders.
well,
So,
if you take from Tipperary, Bellbrook and Tipperary,
Mhm.
you start going west, that's all DNR ground. It's all DNR ground till
that's
you
true.
get very close to where D intersects with Bellbrook. So in a big
yeah,
desert
Yeah.
of no fire zone.
I mean, is Belleville going to take care of the reporting issues? I mean, I know there's issues with reporting of EMS and fire. There was problems with,
And that's what's creating this
Yeah.
at the moment, right?
so,
And we just kind of want to
If
back
that-
away slowly. We
But-
may want to.
Well, I think the MOE,
If
the
that
MOE
happens,
reporting,
yeah.
like this recent stuff, I don't think that's directly part, because that's newish. That requirement's newish, and this goes back at least a couple of years.
Right.
The village has got issues with,
Right.
multiple things. Okay, well, that's good to know.
So that's all the DNR, Arlen, that's all the Brooklyn wildlife
A
area.
lot of it.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so that's why we have so few residents.
Yeah.
So there's very few there until you get very close to D. And then there's that whole cluster from the intersection with D and Bellbrook, quarter mile in on Bellbrook, and then everything up on D north of that is heavily populated. So D is the
Where the population is.
service zone.
Mhm.
That little, then at the bottom left court, that's nothing but DNR ground. So if there's anything, there may be, they have to respond to a prairie fire,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know there's portions in the contract that talk about, you know, the backing out of the contract and things of that nature.
Yes.
And if they're talking about redoing the contract, which you'll learn more about at that meeting.
Right.
I don't know how long it would take to make any change like this, whether it's a Brooklyn or Oregon. You know, is it that's one thing we have to find out. Is it a year? Is it 5 years? Is it?
Well, also, we now have a representative who's living in that area. We should be talking to that person, involving that person as well.
Yep, he's at a meeting
Mike,
like tonight.
Mike,
Mike, yeah.
I just want to ask, and I'm just not knowing. When there's a large fire and more than one fire department gets involved, how does that affect us? I mean, is there some advantage to keeping the 3 fire districts for us? Because of those those things where, or if there is, you read about fires and, they'll tick off. Sun Prairie was there, how is that? Is that determined by your agreement with them, or would they come anyway because they need help?
Want me to answer that?
I don't.
I think because it's this countywide system.
Yes.
They would
It-
come.
I think
They would come
They would come
anyway,
anyway.
and then they might bill us back
I don't.
for their involvement with, is it something that would happen?
How does that? I don't know. I don't-
Yeah,
All those 911 calls go to the county
Mhm.
and the county just responds with.
with whoever they can get,
I don't think they respond based on this contract.
so it has nothing
At
to
all.
do with it.
I don't think so. I think it is purely based on, what's going on at that moment. And they know if they sent half of Oregon to Stoughton when a call comes in Belleville,
They get
that
someone.
we
there.
have
it's covered.
limited resources in Oregon to send to Belleville.
They know exactly how many
I don't think
ambulances
these-
are out, they need
I don't think
another
these-
ambulance and, no.
I don't think these contracts
No,
come into play
I
at
think
all.
Contracts are mostly for funding
Yeah,
and some control,
yes,
auditing, that type of thing.
that's what I
Not
think.
operational.
I only think like if you take an ambulance somewhere,
Yeah, that's what I think.
I only think an ambulance bills you, but I think an ambulance bills you regardless of where you take the
And-
ambulance.
and-
I mean, like if you're in the town of Oregon and you take an ambulance somewhere, I think you're gonna pay for an ambulance
No matter
ride
what.
no matter what.
But that would also mean that if somebody in the,
Yeah, I don't think it matters if you're paying your property taxes or not. I still think you're paying for an ambulance ride.
yeah, and then that, because the other part of this is they have more ambulance calls than fire calls. And there again, you want the ambulance to get there as quickly as possible, so someone in Belleville wouldn't be disadvantaged if they're in the part that Mike is representing. Would they be disadvantaged in an ambulance call? It would just be dispatched by Dane County, whoever could come fast.
would be covered. Yeah,
So it wouldn't be a thing where anybody'd be waiting for would be kind of out in the hinterlands because they're on the far edge of what Oregon can reach easily,
Correct.
quickly, you know.
I actually wondered if it was the opposite, because is Belleville all volunteer and Oregon staffed? Or Brooklyn staffed?
Isn't Belleville mostly volunteer?
Yeah, so I would
Some
think,
permanent, but I think there are definitely
They have a
volunteers.
large cadre of volunteers that come.
I would think that if you're staffed, you would get there quicker.
Awesome.
The thing is, as we know, the village of Oregon calls half their staff volunteers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't.
That's true. Yes.
They-
That's true.
I asked that question in that big meeting, in fear of being foolish. I'm just like, are they truly volunteers? And Glenn's like, no. And I'm like, then why are we calling them volunteers? Why are we paying as staff volunteers?
It's almost a,
It's a
rather than
conundrum.
calling them living at home firefighters, you're right. That's come up. That's come up. And anyway,
I don't think there's anything else on Belleville. How about Brooklyn?
There isn't anything new with Brooklyn. They have their new ambulance. And they are preparing to they're preparing to do something with their old ambulance. There've been discussions around, using it for non-emergency transport.
Oh, okay.
Which there's a role for that, but there are also private companies that's what they do.
yes, they do.
And so far, at least my input has been, we're not in the for-profit ambulance business. Sell the ambulance. If we got a new one, sell the ambulance. And so they're in the process, they have to strip out a certain amount of stuff, like the gurney, like the radios, so it's not like they step out of one vehicle and get into another vehicle tomorrow. There's a transition that's taking place, so that's happening. I think things are going really well down there. And that's one of the reasons I'm asking to make sure that we talk to Brooklyn if we're looking for an alternative. I think things are going well. I think although staffing is a real challenge, we hear that everywhere. We've heard that from Oregon for sure. They have done a really good job staffing. And their training, the amount of training they do, all of those things. I think they, like lots of fire and EMS organizations, they are waiting to help you. And Brooklyn is clearly in that position. They are not struggling to help. So.
Good. Steve, anything else with Oregon?
Just to play off of Tim's there, as far as personnel, there were no new personnel sworn in. Most of the evening was in closed session about the PDS, which I'll get to in a moment if I'm able to share closed sessions with the board, which anyway, but think about that for a second. There are 11 more interns coming in to the station. They're gonna be sworn in the first Thursday of April. There's a possible collaboration going on with UW and getting and fire science somehow, and getting undergrads interested in fire science and getting them. So that seems sort of exciting. But they do, 12 more interns coming in. And they've had quite a bit, almost every month that I've been there, they're swearing in new people. They are losing people to very good jobs, which says they do a great job training. There's a possible rate change for EMS coming up. Stay tuned. Don't know what that means yet.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn just went through that. They just repriced
Yeah.
like an ambulance, right? It's that kind of service.
I know that Glenn's had some communication with John Marks, the chair of the Fire Commission in Brooklyn. They have I know Glenn wants to have good communication with all the local fire companies. He's one that very much it's for, I'm not gonna say we're consolidation, but doing things with other departments, whether it be fire training centers, but anyway, so he's got some communication going on with John Marks about OFED. On the lighter side of life, they're having a sportsman's rally again this summer, so they've got some needs like everybody does. They need new bearings or HVAC, so that's something he'll just take care of. Overtime up to this point is less than last year. But overall calls are back to normal after a very extremely slow January for them, which is always a good thing because they're slow for that sake. And they are in the process of looking to update their payment system, which is pretty interesting, from paper checks to actually go on the same, and they're not on the same system as the village, and I know that's what they want to do. But there's a whole lot going on with the village right now, as we all know. That's about all that happened there.
Can I say I don't?
Yes.
Because I'm not sure about that. We need to hold that thought.
Okay.
I'm gonna assume that closed session there couldn't be discussed in an open meeting like this.
Okay,
So if it's something that we need to talk about in a closed session, then we can schedule that.
I think it's things that I'm uncomfortable with knowing things that I can't share with this board.
So let me double check.
Yeah, okay.
But I have a feeling that you should probably do it that way.
I've got some, as you and I discussed, I have some issues on
Okay.
dealing with
And I think
myself.
it'd be good to hear.
Yep.
I need to
I'll be back.
confirm the method of how to do that.
At a minimum, we may need to do it in closed session.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I think so.
and then I'll stop there.
I mean, I think it can be discussed, but
Yes.
yes, in a closed session. So we'll need to get that on we can do it as part of would it be too late to do it as part of the April meeting, or could we have it as part of that? Should it be?
Well, let me ask you this. And Arlen and I had a discussion before the meeting start. What is on the 20th, the board meeting on the 20th?
March 20th.
What's that all about? We both had that down. And then there's something that says the 20th, possible for 4:30.
Oh, that was
That was the
no, the March 20th was the employee meeting that we were gonna do
Oh.
at 9 AM.
Oh, yes.
But then we have in-person absentees, so then we were gonna move that possibly to the afternoon, because we would have to do that after we were done doing in person.
Is there a possibility of doing a small closed session on the
I
20th?
think there would be, yeah.
We got it.
Oh, yeah. So
You don't have-
when we get to the
Yeah, that's-
agenda, future
Yeah.
meetings, let's try to figure out whether it's the next board meeting or whether we can.
There's probably nothing we can do, but just information I just want to say.
Yeah.
Okay, well, don't make a fool of yourself.
Okay, good to know. But yeah, let's be. I don't know if it's cautious. I think we have to do it that way. It just seems like.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, anything else, Steve?
No, that should do it.
Okay. Item 11, town of the report. You don't, sorry.
There's just a little short update on page 71 for the two Saturdays. They were open, it's been very slow. And then I guess we start up in April again with every
Every Saturday.
Saturday.
Question?
Good. You all-
Questions? Before we jump into the plan commission item, can we take a 5-minute recess? Objection, we'll recess to talk about it.
Said that question yesterday, Lord.
Yeah.
Want to know before we start November Saturdays again. I said, well, I very matter of factly said April.
Yeah, I think
When I
so.
said, better be right. I said that last time.
Funny, yeah, I think it was this Saturday. Sheldon looked out the window and Jerry Anderson's driving down with a load of brush in his truck. He must think the torque is almost day. I almost said, why don't you just follow him down there and let him in? But he didn't do that.
It's shooting so well. I took my whole bike ride yesterday, got off my bike at the two-step with.
Oh,
Just-
really? Yes.
Oh. Can't figure it out. I'm doing wrong. Huh. Every possible, like stretch. Nutrition. My government computer goes off loudly when it's time to fuel. It's just the way it's. Oh, Jennifer, I'll talk to Stephanie about like.
What's that?
I'm gonna have to have your magic in your call again.
Oh, sure.
I haven't gotten emails from you for the last week and I haven't, it works on my iPad, but I mean, on my MacBook,
Mhm.
but not iPad. Cindy's kind of taken over the MacBook, so.
Oh,
You know.
kind of lost your spot.
Yeah, so I've got to have them call me and even my phone doesn't work with it. Whether that's updates with Apple, I don't know.
Steve, would you like a water?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Candy bar. Bag of famous Amos cookies.
No, thank you.
The tour. And also.
Greg,
Greg,
it's usually two of them are there.
Two.
They rotate the third one. You know
oh,
what I
okay,
mean?
yep, okay.
Is anybody aware of any commercial property in town available?
commercial property in the
Vacant land
anywhere.
anywhere. Except down here, there's 4.5 acres.
Mhm.
Um. What commercial, retail, industrial,
We build storage condos. And we were scheduled to build some down in Brooklyn. Their soils,
Oh.
Awful.
we couldn't do it. It's a flat piece of property
Mhm.
in their park. So you hear,
All right, we're all set to get back to it?
yeah,
All
the tax dollars very quickly and in big numbers.
Yeah.
So we would love to be able to do it here.
You'd like to go back?
All right, we'll come back to order.
Yeah.
And then item 12, A, an update on PPR.
it's not, unless there's a specific question, this thing that's being worked on. Both the TDR and the CUP. And the TDR is trying to make it user friendly. Not just an onerous application and approval process. And the conditional use, I think if you, in the packet has a wonderful letter
Mhm.
from Attorney Galt from Dane County as to the fun and games of the Walker administration
Yeah.
of which is always interesting, being the champion of the individual communities,
Mhm.
but we're gonna tell you how to do it.
Mhm.
Oh, well, that's here, nor there. Here we are. It's how we deal with it. And how some of the other towns, there is a education session on April 3rd that I think that I'm gonna be planning to go to. If anybody else wishes to go.
About TDRs or about CUPs?
It's on page 75.
Okay,
PUPs, yeah.
oh, yes, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe it's on page 97.
Page 75.
You can also,
Is it in person?
you can do
Oh, there's
it.
There there is
Okay.
in person.
Are you
and
gonna
Zoom-
go in person?
And Zoom.
They're usually, I always get more out of it if I go in person.
Yes,
And I think we'll invite the plan commission members too. See if
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so it'll be going there as to what it is that we could be doing. And the difference between our comprehensive plan and Dunn's comprehensive plan,
and did you
Which
see it was
Dean-
in there?
that they went to great, it's like they copied the Dane County zoning ordinance. That didn't have,
So that's in there, that was on started on page 83, was the start of Dunn's.
now, and that's their approach.
Yeah,
And so that, like I say, they were like copying Dane County zoning. And I don't know that we necessarily have to
Mhm.
do that to put it into comprehensive plan,
Mhm.
is it?
it was very detailed, it went into. And then ours was. I
It
included,
included words and saying, this is, see. If I was trying to do a CUP, I'd go to Dane County zoning ordinance first. And then look at the comprehensive plan.
I think what, in ours, what you would look at is, on page, like if you go to page 95, at the discretion of the planning commission, additional standards may be required. That's where you would want to list what those additional standards would be. That's, I think, where,
So we'll be looking as to what it is that we have to have in there. And again, to have it user friendly and not get overly complicated.
Right.
And not try and copy Dane County zoning, because Dane County zoning would be, every time it changed, we'd have to change it too.
Mhm.
And that's, I don't know that we want that bureaucratic nightmare.
and I think Stephanie has talked to Ben, who worked at Town of Dunn and now is at the county, and I think he'll be willing to help come down and help us too, it, you know. talk to us
With
as well.
edits and with what goes in.
Yeah, so.
I don't think we have to dwell on it too much. It's in progress.
Okay, good to know. Okay, item 13 is a vision report, and I'm going to tell you that the surveys, it sounded like the surveys will go out within about a week, sometime this week. Lindsay at the Survey Research Center said that, I want to say she said within the next day or two. So it probably won't hit people's mailboxes until.
It's a paper.
This is either the postcard for
Yes.
people where they can follow the link or scan the QR code. Or for the people who are landowners with 35 acres or more, they'll get a paper survey.
Is it gonna be the same one that was a few weeks ago that they said, hey, practice on this one, that survey we took?
There were, I think,
It's fairly long.
so yes is the answer. It's the same one. I think there may have been some slight typo fixes or something, but I think it's the same.
What, I got a postcard.
Yes.
I saw, like, watch your mail.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We had talked about doing that just so people don't.
Just a few days ago, it came.
Yeah, this one.
That
So-
one.
That's this one, yeah.
And it'll be,
So-
so we'll do the QR code.
So it'll be a smaller, well, actually, I don't know what size it is exactly. I think it's a slightly smaller postcard, but the QR code will be on there, a link will be on there. That you type in your browser.
So that's coming this week. Look for it in your post office this week. Coming.
Coming to a post.
Coming soon. And then Lindsay and Shakir, again, at the Survey Research Center, said that they would start to get, they would let us know when they start to get responses. Right, off the top of my head, I can't remember the closing days for getting survey results.
But everybody in a household, it's not just one per household, everybody over 18 and.
Yeah, we're in a little battle over that. But because originally the survey research, some people thought it should just be one person per household. And that's the.
Actually, it was head of household.
Head of household, yes, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, no, yeah.
So
I was
that's
asking-
that's what the real fight begins.
I'm not sure about that.
Lost.
So that's, I think that's the latest and greatest.
So we changed it to whoever will fill this out.
everybody.
So don't forget to do your survey.
No.
Anything else on that? Then item 14 is building inspections report, and that's on page 100 somewhere. Any questions about that?
Read this, so.
All right, then item 15, just a brief discussion about the town center. And last time we met, I think we said we would wait until the election's over and wait until the vision survey sort of completes itself to a point where we're looking at July. I have no reason to suggest changing that. Do you have anything new?
No.
So it's really just a matter of saying, hey, we're chugging along, but there's gonna be a little gap here to let some other things work their way through.
With some experiences I'm having right now, I think it's a great idea to wait until the surveys are in.
Yes, yeah, because I think there's at least one or two questions that are related.
No, it's
It's always good to know. Item 16, assessor's report on page 101.
So it's a market reval year, so we just have to put out the notice that there's a reevaluation here. So that's done. There is. So we have to meet, the state statute requires that we meet once in May. The role will not be done, so at the May meeting, we'll meet and basically we open the meeting and we just say the role is not complete. And then we close the meeting and then we'll meet again in September when the role will be complete. So that's September 17th at noon.
And we're pretty sure on the September 17th,
Yep, that's,
they committed to that?
yeah,
I don't think we're gonna go
I know.
beyond that.
so that's when we'll be, They have, they will be here. They're looking at coming for 2 days for open book, being here at the town hall for 2 days, August 11th and August 12th. Trying to hit probably at least a morning portion and an afternoon portion of those 2 days. They're doing it a little bit different this year. I'm not sure if any of you have much experience with calling Accurate, but instead of calling up and talking to someone right away, they're doing it more by appointment. So calling up and talking. So they're gonna do the 2 days here and then calling and having appointments, instead of just calling up and talking to someone so hopefully everything will work out. That's what I have for that.
Okay.
So September 17th, I would need at least 3 of you for that board of review. And like I said, Lori's done the training, but as soon as I get the training, everyone can have it taken again.
Okay.
We may have someone for board of review just because it's a revalue.
Somebody show up.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions, comments on that? All right, then let's go to 17, that's along with the meeting. Agenda items, let's, 17A. Document here, next couple pages, 104, about the Kennedy Park encroachment issue. And that's sort of just up in the air, so, you know, Roger was gonna do something and then couldn't, and
Right, Roger couldn't make it. I have reached back out and I haven't heard, but that was where we had left it last time, was asking him to go about, I think he was gonna talk about the junk that was around there. I haven't heard back. And then you saw the letter in there from the attorney.
And he also suggested that somebody go out first. Step.
Yeah.
do
So,
we know? I'm trying to see when was Roger on. Oh, no, that was a while ago.
Okay, so he should be back. Right?
right, so I have reached out to Roger and I have not, and Sean, but I have not heard back from them. Either one of them have been able to make contact with the resident. And I have not reached back out to Attorney Morgan because I haven't heard back from her. So,
Great. Still unfolding. And then 17B is the Eisenhower address, issue, slide situation.
Sort of the same situation there.
Did we decide what we're gonna do there? Are we gonna put some kind of a short-term easement in place?
so that,
There's a letter,
It's a Kennedy Park.
yeah, the
Yes.
Kennedy Park one was the one from the attorneys. That was on page
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
That's-
Page
Yeah,
105.
I was confusing them. Sorry.
Right, Eisenhower is the.
Yes, the,
The condition.
yes.
Issue, yeah.
you know,
Which I think is also sort of up in the air, but if I'm looking at the right.
I noticed there's more tarps on a few of the piece of equipment that weren't there a month or two ago. I ride by there at least once a week, just, well, you can't help but see it.
Yeah,
But I read,
Tarps are an improvement.
no, I'm just saying there's a tarp,
Something-
just-
something
to me,
changed.
that's
it's getting attention.
getting attention, there's something covered, you know, there's so much junk there, whether it's that there's an SUV that's been there for years that with 4 flat tires, and I mean, you can't get, right now, you literally couldn't walk up the front door. My first experience was canvassing there 2 years ago, and I could walk 2 steps to the front and say, I can't get in here. That's it.
Jennifer, do you know if Dave from Safe Build had any luck?
that. I don't know either.
Okay, that's.
He hasn't gotten back to me either. I know that one also is at corporate council. I do know that. I know Dane County zoning is on that one.
All right.
That one I know will move very slowly, as those do with those types of things do move through Dane County very slowly.
Have we had a complaint from any of the neighbors about the property at all that you know of?
Not so far in 2025.
But in the last,
Yes,
was
over-
it last year or over
Yes,
years ago?
Yes, we have had complaints over the years, yes.
But you have the, while you're on this topic, you just brought forward to us the one on Billbrook.
Mhm.
As far as an unsafe living condition complaint that's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, a few days ago, there were a couple of pickup trucks with some brand new lumber out there. So there's something that's happening. I have no idea what it is. I talked to Glenn about that because Glenn was involved along with Mason at Brooklyn, so with that fire, but yeah, there's.
I don't know, I mean, I feel like that's something where it's like, I'm not privy to some of that conversation that's happening at that level. So,
I mean, there can't, I think the only resident they have is a trailer, and that's now Ash's, there's no way short of tents and, with that anybody's living in that particular property, but again, there were newer pickup trucks with some people doing something there.
Do they have a building permit?
Well, I just.
We would know it if they did.
I just saw the 2x4, so I didn't see anything with a screw or a nail in it or slab of cement, so.
Okay, so 17C. Jennifer, do you have something on this one?
no, that was Tim's with the, part in the.
Oh, yes.
activity.
Yes, that, we're anticipating so for our next meeting, I would expect that we would have some kind of a proposal to see what it would take to get to what we need from what we have. Yes,
And where is this at?
where's what at?
This 11.35?
That is our ordinance, but this is having to do with charging the impact fee, so.
This is how we get to.
Yes, that's how we get.
Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
how we
It-
get to a justified position to start collecting park impact fees again.
It's called a needs analysis. I
Yes.
should probably change the title because that's misleading.
that would
So
be good.
I'll change the title. Sorry.
Thank you.
Anything else on that one?
Well, one way is to find this property.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 17D, let's see if we can regroup on the employee meeting. Because we had originally said
So
about a
from-
week and a half from now, but was it? Did we?
we would prefer,
Mhm.
Stephanie and I would prefer, if we could potentially wait till after the April 1st election, if that would be at all possible, just because this is turning out to be kind of a very busy election.
I think that's what we.
If that would be possible.
You still want to stick with a Thursday?
That would be totally fine. I mean, the next meeting is, bye, Steve.
So long.
See you, Steve.
Bye, Steve.
The next meeting is the 8th. The guys work until 5.
How about Thursday the 10th?
Is it
Yeah,
10th or
do that.
17th?
That would be fine. So
And that's a during the day meeting.
we could do it, yeah, we could definitely do it during the day.
Yes.
Let me just look at the. look at it.
So we're gonna be picking the 10th or the 17th?
Either one works for me.
Either one of those days.
Let's do just to do it, let's do it the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
13th.
17th is most I see on mine.
April 10th, and what time would you guys like to do that at? There's any time that we could do.
6 a.m. coffee.
6 a.m., that's a little early.
What? I haven't been to one of these, so what happens during one of these meetings?
Good question.
I've never been at one of them.
Good question.
I think you have been at one,
Okay, you went to-
Lynn, but You have.
Hasn't been any.
There's maybe been one ever.
Yeah.
In the history of the town, possibly, I'm not
Well,
sure.
I think we've had a couple. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Who brings the food?
Okay.
Ah, you
It,
can.
it's not, it's really just to interact, to just meet and discuss whatever's going on.
Okay.
It's
so
not
there
necessarily
isn't
a tight agenda.
So there isn't a standard agenda.
No, there's not at all, because really, I remember being in one, maybe two. And so what I would like to do is have them on a regular basis, and whether that
Yes.
means
Yes.
three or four a year, whatever. So just to pick up whatever's happening, whatever, there are a lot of things to talk about as far as, benefits, time off, comp time, lack of documentation that we're working on, employee handbook types of things.
So is it
I think-
mostly a meeting we run for the employees, or is it a meeting where we're there to listen to what the employees
I
have to
think it's
say?
more just as, not a free-for-all, but more of a discussion. I don't think, it's not a board meeting. Hey, come on in, employees, and join the board meeting. It's open to public. I think it has to be if we're all there.
So is it,
Although it could be a closed session, but if we're talking about
Why don't you
specific.
start with having a rough agenda.
I can do that. I'll put together a rough agenda, because there are some things we can talk about. And then, I do want to leave it sort of open to some discussion. That's free form, because I think there will be some. But I can put together a short slash rough agenda. But it's really about employment. It's really about employment and what they might need, and we might need to structure. I know that Lori, Jennifer, and Stephanie have been working on an employee handbook. But there's more to it than just that, because there used to be an employment contract. Even quotes really, but that's no longer around. Handbook might cover some of it. There's inconsistencies on time off. There's some inconsistencies on how to handle, if, let's say, both of the guys are off, or Jennifer and Stephanie are off. So it's more of that type of thing. We need to bring a little structure to the employment here without overdoing it. And I think there is enough to chip away at that we can get some progress done.
can we do it over lunch? Will we bring lunch
We
in?
could, yeah. Okay,
Everybody's gotta eat,
yeah,
and it might be conducive to conversations.
that works for me. Would that work for your scheduling, do you think, Jennifer, if it's more of a lunch hour or 2 hours?
Could you bring in stapler?
Giant one.
Stapler is the biggest piece of crap. Yeah. Could I do dog ears?
Yeah.
Just rip it. So I think anytime between the day is fine with me and lunch.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good
We
idea.
didn't pick a time yet.
No, so
We're talking about a lunch meeting.
Yeah, we're talking about
Proposed.
lunch.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
12:30, something like that.
Yeah.
Early lunch.
What time did you say? That's a brunch.
Early lunch.
11:30.
Okay, that sounds perfect. That sounds
11:30
perfect.
to 1?
Perfect.
That is on
The 10th.
The 10th.
That's a Thursday.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, something that's not on the list here is April 3rd Road and Safety Committee.
Okay, I will add that. I do have an agenda for that too.
Which will be dealing with an appeal from new residents on Bellbrook, new driveway.
Oh, the driveway.
Driveway.
Was that the?
Oh, that driveway.
664 or whatever, that variance.
It's the six, asked for a 6-inch culvert.
I saw the. Go by the.
Well, it'll be,
Reading that, I want to see what the hell it looked like. I need more information for it.
okay. So anyway, we're trying to have that so that we could have something to be dealt with at the town board meeting the following
Because
Tuesday.
they need to get this project underway.
So we're trying to accommodate the applicant.
Okay.
And that's 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's how you put the sample ballots in. Do you have anything to talk about the election?
Not really. So there's the Belleville School District referendum.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been actually asking us if the village referendum is on our ballot. Isn't that weird? Or
Isn't it?
actually asking us if it affects them. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
obviously going to affect it. So,
Oh,
but.
There remains a lot of confusion about the village and the town
Yes.
Mhm.
and what's what.
Yeah, they're- Welcome, son.
Yeah, right.
80% serious.
Yeah.
So then, and then I also had the annual meeting agenda in there as well. And we kind of switched it up a little bit. We usually had new business from the floor at the very end. And we moved that up to the beginning, which seems more appropriate. Dane County Sheriff got back to me. Did you see
I saw the
that?
report,
Yeah.
We could just, I mean, but, they said that they could show though, but all of a sudden there was a babysitter involved and I thought, oh, we'll go with the report.
That's what I thought too. So I have the 5-year road work on there too, Arlen. I thought you could talk about that at the
Oh, yeah,
annual
the
meeting.
5-year plan.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
a good idea.
okay,
Yes, definitely.
okay.
Very good idea.
In the purpose of, in the cycle that we're planning to go through.
And then Tim, I have you on there to talk about Brooklyn. Okay.
Sounds good.
I have a Brooklyn Fire EMS meeting on that night on my calendar. Do you know something different than I do?
I do not.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. I
Okay,
just wanted to know if you had. I'll follow up on that.
okay. I do not, and I had actually reached out to him and asked him if he would like to attend just to give him the courtesy, but I did not hear back from him.
Okay. Who's that, John?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I'm also gonna see if I can get a special guest from Belleville,
Okay.
if I can get Ted to come here, but I don't know for sure.
And if you can, just let me know and you could just rearrange the agenda too.
Yeah, I can do it. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, you can leave it as is.
Yeah, I'll leave it as is and then you
Doesn't
can just arrange it like maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. That's the annual meeting. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right. Any other meeting related notes from anyone? Okay, let's move on to 18 then for clerk's report. And A is the chat about the employee handbook. Lori, you gonna talk about that?
The section board we talked about. Well, I think I did. I might have.
Oh, the ones in the other one.
Yeah. We talked about. I'm giving somebody more, that's great.
This or is this?
Oh, yeah, this is just one section.
One part.
They really sort of, we just really zeroed in on compensatory time is,
Yep.
is an issue that
Yep.
is thorny and needs sorting out for us, so that's what we focused on discussion on that.
Read this and bring it back on the 10th?
Well, this is,
10th, or are we looking at
this is.
acting on this now?
No, this is just kind of like an update. So we got the town of Dunn's handbook and it's the town of Middleton's, they're all kind of the same. They're all pretty boilerplate
Mhm.
language. So this was pretty much what we talked about. This is pretty much verbatim, I would say. Well, it is from the town of Dunn's. The compensatory time was not spelled out in the town of Dunn's. So compensatory time is allowed for government entities to pay, instead of paying time off, you can, instead of paying overtime, you can offer that time off. There would be the board's option to allow the employees to get paid out their compensatory time.
Okay, so anything that's in italics
Right,
is your modification, everything that's
right,
in
So-
the regular serif is in
Yes.
town of Dunn.
yes, exactly. So that compensatory time would be something that you would, and then the snowplow related hours is not in there, although that is pretty standard. What that means is that anytime that the guys plow snow, they accept anytime outside of normal hours, normal working hours, they consider that to be overtime. They take that as overtime.
And that's a standard.
It seems standard for the townships around here.
Okay,
The Village of yes, like the Village of Brooklyn, the town of Dunn, seems standard. So not overtime, so like if they had to work overtime because of road work or something, that would have to be over 40 hours a week. But if they plow snow.
so it's just strictly plowing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so we would want to have that spelled out in snow plow related hours, because it's not overtime, right? Because overtime is over 40 hours. It's snow related hours. It's when you're doing a certain task, you're getting paid a certain wage for doing a certain task. And that's what they're doing, that certain task.
So it's time and a half and it's a cash payout.
It's comp, they take it in
They take it as
compensatory.
comp, they take it as comp time.
Yeah, but they earn it as time and a half.
Okay,
So the language seems like you would say it's overtime, but it's not overtime, but they earn it at time and a half when they
Okay.
plow snow.
But isn't it true that they can take either over the pay or the compensatory time?
That would be 2.02. That would be the option that the board would have to decide. And I was telling Carl and Lori that they end the year at about, I think about 1,500. Is that what I think it was 1,500. So if there was a payout at the end of the year, it would be about $3,000 that we would be paying out. So, that would be about what the board would be looking at, maybe a little bit more. Maybe they would decide not to use all of their time off. But that would be something that the board would want to budget for. If we would pay out. Now, you can choose to say a condition of your employment is not, we don't pay out, you have to use it.
and that's got its own issues. Because of coverage.
Mhm. Yeah,
for lack thereof. So, yeah,
So it's something, yes, yeah.
So where's the sticky part? You said that there's some
Well,
challenges.
this is an issue that is of concern to the staff, particularly because of coverage during the summer when the hours are taken, the compensatory hours are used. So then there can be problems when, and I think this already came up at this meeting about how with our small staff, a lot of the vacation and compensatory time, which I think would be another. Would it be fair to lump those two issues together? But somebody decides I'm gonna take my compensatory time now. Right? I mean, I don't wanna speak out of turn. I had trouble understanding this, all the ins and outs of this, you know, because I don't work here. But I think there need to be stronger guidelines about how those decisions are reported and planned and scheduled.
So,
And this is part of this whole issue.
so I think it would be helpful for me to have a specific example.
So what do you want an example of?
An example of when coverage in the summer has been an issue.
When you would not have like so if the guys work 4 10s, you don't have coverage on a Friday, okay?
Mhm.
And let's say you have employees take vacation,
Mhm.
okay? And you have also said employees use compensatory time. And you might have employees working sporadically for a month.
Okay,
Things might not get done.
2 days this week plus Friday,
Yeah,
3 days
Yeah.
next week plus Friday.
right.
That kind of,
Things can get missed. Things can get.
And give me an
missed.
example of,
Like,
what can get missed?
things cannot get mowed, roadsides might not get mowed,
There was some
the-
tree that fell and sat for a while.
Tree falls on somebody's, in the road because
Right,
of a thunderstorm.
right,
That's not hypothetical. I mean, I think that
Yeah, that
happened in
happened.
that's
last.
why I'm looking
Yes,
for, I'm looking for a
right.
specific example because
you know,
I'm trying to
things,
relate to.
things that you need put up at the park, things that, you know, things that, now I gotta remember, cause I don't take all the phone calls and, a lot of park related things, a lot of like the, cemeteries getting mowed, they can tend to get missed because, you know, but then when they become, you know, especially because the way that grass grows, all of a sudden it gets, you know, that hopefully will be better. That's why I think having a mower that can work more hours will be much more helpful.
Mhm.
I would like to utilize our part-time staff as much
For
as
that kind of
humanly
coverage. But now that
possible.
our part-time staff is 18 years old or
Yeah.
older, we
Yeah,
have more flexibility
There's
to
more,
require.
you can be trained in any piece of material, you fold them up.
Sure.
You finally do a few things.
yeah, and I would like, and you know, going forward, like to see that be utilized as much as possible. You
Mhm.
know, even talk to Lori about if the Torque employees can, you know, as much as we could. And, so that you can give the employees options to be able to leave.
Right.
And I think also what doesn't is the work that they might have to do for other municipalities, having to leave and haul gravel
Yeah,
for
They
road work.
share work with other,
Yes,
so they're over helping the town of Dunn. And then another person might be using a day of compensatory time, and then our stuff is not covered.
so like a park sign, okay, well, you know, it might need to be painted or repaired, or, you know, trees might need to be, and it's like, that just might not be at the top of their list. But
Mhm.
we're gonna get calls here, this needs to be done, and it might not be done, and it just, it's can be seeming like little things, but it might add up to big things. I think it's all a level of what you put priorities on.
Mhm.
And I think that's the big thing, or what you have as an expectation.
Well, okay,
And
there's a key part.
that's,
Sorry to interrupt. you.
No, 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 go
I
right
think,
ahead.
I think a key part of it is residents' expectations of availability here in Public Works. And what kind of service level we're able to provide. Are we really able to provide Monday through Fridays in both departments? I don't know, all the time, well, all the time, no.
No,
We have
not
a
during the
history of,
summer, it's
we have a history of
intense.
of not being able to do that. So what's acceptable? Are 3 days a week acceptable? So that's maybe something we have to discuss more, well, I'll discuss more and decide, okay. We don't have a staff of 85 people.
Right.
We've got 4 people
Mhm.
total permanent employees. What can we reasonably provide?
Yes.
And what kind of expectations can we set with residents? And it's. I'm forgetting the I should include the Torque employees. Full-time, anyway, 4. But similar to what we've done at the Torque is we set expectations of when are people there? When is the Torque open? It may need to be the same type of thing here.
Yeah, where there's a policy in place, an attendance policy in place that simply says during the summer, during summer hours, for lack of a better term, there always needs to be a public works employee available. And so if they need to communicate their holiday schedules, their vacation schedules, but we can't, it's not a free-for-all out at the Torque because we have to be open on Saturdays.
Right.
And so there's an expectation set that says there's gotta be at least 2 employees at the Torque when it's open. It's open from this date till this date, every Saturday.
Isn't it true that this situation varies year to year because some years there isn't as much overtime banked during the snowplow season? Isn't that part of it?
Yeah, and this year there probably won't be as much
Yeah,
too.
but sometimes
So-
there's a lot.
And like, like the Torque has helped out because now they're burning, so like that helps out too. Now they're going out there and helping the guys burn, so that helps right now during the year, so. I think it's all ebbs and flows.
Okay, can I ask, in the clerk's office,
Mhm.
when you and Stephanie have to work the day and then into the night to whatever time it is now, how do you handle like weekly hours above and beyond 40?
How do you compensate for that?
You're not in a snowplow, but you're here probably more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
So do you
I
take,
mean, like, if we have to, I don't know, like, if we have to leave and go do something, like, if we have an appointment during the day, like,
Right.
we'll just flex our time during the day to go do something.
Okay.
That will come back.
It's different for salary.
Yeah.
than
that's true,
hourly.
that's true,
Right.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
this particularly is the hourly that
Yeah.
causes
right.
this logjam of unused compensatory time.
Is Stephanie salaried also?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, so we're both salary and the guys are hourly, so.
Yeah, that is a different situation.
But I do think it's an expectation. I think that's more of the expectation. And so it's like for us, it's as long as the expectations and everybody's on the same page. Let's just-
Is there an issue hypothetically of simply saying compensatory time is paid out? That's it. It's paid out. It's not, you had 8 hours of compensatory time today, you can take off a day next week. Right. It's paid out. I'm just asking.
The guys, Ryan farms, so he likes the compensatory time because he uses it to farm. I mean, this is information that's not for the handbook or whatever. This
Right.
is a personal
Yeah,
information.
this is the
So-
kind of specific
Okay.
example I'm looking.
So, Abel also has a second job where he hauls milk, so he also uses his compensatory time to do another job as well. So they do use their compensatory time to do another job.
Mhm.
So, I know, but I also can say that if I look at this handbook and I think of the people that are gonna come after,
Mhm.
right, them, I would say you would want something, because the people that come after might say, I don't want compensatory time, I want the overtime.
Right.
So I would think you would either want to decide are you going to make somebody want compensatory time, or are you going to give them the option to say, I can take the overtime?
Or you can grandfather in what we have right now, and anybody afterwards, like, it'd just be another option.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say, but I mean, so that's how I look at it and look at it and say, I don't know, but you know, from a budgetary standpoint, I'm just saying is that it would affect the budget if you're paying overtime.
Right.
And you're just something you wanna think about.
Yep.
It's something that I think the board's gonna wanna think about as you think about all the other things long-term.
Right.
It's money that it's money you're spending, but you don't think about it, and it might be someone coming after there that are gonna say, why didn't you guys think about spending this?
Let me go back to Abel and Ryan, and this is from a conversation with Ryan. I think, I don't know if Abel was part of it, but he mentioned the same thing, you know, harvest season. He needs to be at whatever, his farm, whoever's farm. But you could have an arrangement where comp time is banked or accrued through into the winter, into like say the last quarter of the year. And then if it
Then
isn't,
pay out.
and then pay out.
And I think a
So-
lot of employers have that kind of.
Yes, for
We
this
don't,
reason. So
we do
that's-
not have a tight limit, and even wording where it says compensatory time. What we have now for the proposed wording is to use it within a reasonable period. I think we need to say what that is, and I think it's like, I think
I think it's
most,
too big.
the practice with most employers is what you say,
After
it
the
has to
year's
be,
over.
just because of clearing the books at
Yes.
the end of the
And for some,
tax
that's a
year.
budgetary issue.
Yeah, and
For
it is
others,
a
it's
budget-
coverage issue.
It's a budgetary issue also.
Yeah, what I put in here is unused compensatory time will be paid out at the end of the calendar year, and the reason is.
Yep.
So we pay into the WRS retirement system, and if you were to ever pay out in a calendar year, in the year that you did not earn it, it would cause a lot of problems.
It's a problem.
Yeah. if
And
it
so I would not want to be here if you had to do that, because it's a lot of headache, and
Right.
it would just not be, so I haven't had to do that, but it would be something you would ask, but compensatory time is owed to the employees, so you could never really technically, you can not, I guess, pay them because
Well, isn't there even an issue that you wanna, and if the employee for whatever reason wasn't able to, was no longer employed or left or, was deceased, then you had that unused comp time hanging over into the next
Right.
account, so it's all part of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'd have to pay another.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But so whatever you were just talking about, Jennifer, is there something in these sheets that talks about the calendar year end?
Yeah,
Am I
this would be the
missing it?
second sentence under 2.02. Unused compensatory time would be paid out at the end of the calendar year. So what I think is you just let them bank it, and then you'd say at the end, the bank would just be emptied and you would just get paid.
Yep, yep, I think that,
And then you would start accruing it again, and then you'd have,
yep, and so, yeah, exactly, I think that's the best of both.
so then it would just be, then the board would just know like, hey, we're gonna go into budget time, and then there's just gonna be this little bit of extra we're gonna put into it, and that's gonna be that money that would be spent for compensatory time we might have to pay out.
Here's where it got faked out, so sentence 2, I think is in conflict with the last sentence in that.
What about bill within the reasonable period?
And this was literally pulled from someone else's handbook, so if it's in conflict, the language was,
address it.
yeah,
You just
the
take it
language
out.
was pulled.
Okay,
This is, I am kind of a
What's that?
monkey,
It just
I-
needs to be edited.
I
Okay,
didn't,
right, so-
I didn't make this up myself.
that's fine.
It's literally, it's copy and paste. I'm not that genius. You're gonna give me way too much credit. It's probably it might be from the Village of Oregon or.
Sure.
No, I was looking at the last sentence and you said something about the under the calendar year, I said, my copy does not say that at all.
Well, this is the second sentence, but
I
this
know.
came from, it came from someone else's hand. It just, most of it's from the town of Dunn, except for the sections that I thought were important to us that were
Yeah.
not in the town
Okay,
of Dunn's.
no, that's.
And that,
okay.
And the overriding issue here, more than anything, is we have 4
Right.
employees.
Yeah.
The coverage is, the
It is
county,
tight.
I know the county, provides for this, and there are people who take off the month of September and go harvest in Montana
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
1 month,
Yeah,
and they're trying to finish
right.
construction projects,
Right.
but they have hundreds of employees.
Yeah.
We have 4.
No, I know.
And so that, I think it's. I totally agree. We have to put some clear language in, not it's to the,
Mhm.
it's to somebody's opinion or we may.
And then I think the communicating when one is going to use it is very important.
Yes,
And, it
that
can't
needs to be
be,
scheduled.
That goes to coverage.
yeah, it can't be, oh, it looks like I can harvest today.
Yeah.
And I mean, pulling it back a little bit more to, it's a kind of form of moonlighting. And I remember, I don't want to tell, when I started working at MATC like 30 years ago, everybody I talked to who taught there had a side business,
Sure.
like doing their thing.
Yeah,
Well, I was an English teacher. I was just grading papers all the time, I mean, I didn't, but I've been going, whoa, everybody here's got a side gig, But I think it kind of borders into that a little
Yeah.
bit, and that's a whole other kind of issue.
yeah. That's how it is at the county. Everybody is a.
Everybody's
farmer.
got a side gig.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
and-
Christmas tree farm.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't have any, like. immediate-
consulting firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any immediate objection to that, to having like.
But
do something.
see, it can't overlap, it
Right.
can't.
Right, the priority is, there's 2 of you in this,
Yeah,
we need somebody here.
yeah.
And that's where it goes to, service level standards. I mean, are we okay with 2 people being gone at the same time if it's consistent? Like, is it, like, in summers, is it Fridays? If Jennifer and Stephanie wanted to be off and do 4 10-hour days, would it also be Fridays and do it just be closed? I don't know.
Ours is so, I mean, theirs is different, but ours is so different because ours is just, it's work dependent. I mean, like
Right.
during elections, this
Yeah,
is just, it's like,
that's true, right.
ours is because of our schedules, but which goes to the seasonal on 2.05. The seasonal is like, they're doing, so as I was saying, like ours is work dependent, they're seasonal. We talked about April 1st through October 1st. They're doing time changes when they go to their 4 pens. Well, time change was March 9th. It's March 9th through November 8th or something. But are they, then we talked about, that's 8 months. Are they doing away with time change? So that would be another question that you could talk about during the employee meeting if you want, or you could decide, do you want to just label what seasonal is? Do you want to leave seasonal up? That's something else that would be, that's something else we looked at in different handbooks is Town of Dunn just uses the word seasonal. The guys determine it by time change.
Do you know why they want to do it that way? Is it farm work related?
Could be.
Like when the weather is good?
So.
I don't-
So let me understand. The guys today, during daylight savings time or that whole time,
Yes, that's when they do 4
So
tens.
this week, they're already doing
that's extraordinary.
the
4
tens.
tens, yes.
So
eight
even
months.
even the county is like
They start the 4 tens.
April
Daylight
20th until
savings time.
September something. It is not.
Yeah, it's a long
Not
time.
a-
So
time
that's
change.
another
Right.
thing that could be
Right.
nailed down here.
That's why,
Well, I mean, I think that would
that's
be.
why we thought about, that's why we thought,
Wow.
that's why we thought we should probably do that. So that was another thing that I thought we should point out because that's why we saw in other handbooks. That might be a little bit something we might wanna,
That's a little extra.
I would like to hear from Ryan and Abel about why. Why do they want or need that? I mean, it does seem like a long period of time to me. I've never had to like really deal with seasonal type hours or anything like that. So part of me just doesn't know. But my knee-jerk reaction is that a shorter period of time would be okay if we can sort out the whole what happens on the 5th day. You know, we're doing 4 10-hour days, that's cool. What happens on the 5th day when there's something to be done? So it all sort of circles around what we are willing and able to provide to people who need help here.
And I think if we can point to something that it is a standard, it will be helpful.
Right.
For sure. And again, I hate to keep pointing to the county, but the county has, they have construction season. That's what they have.
Right.
They have construction season.
Yeah.
And it starts. I can find out for sure what it is, and it seems reasonable because they are maximizing the time,
We can be on.
mobilization,
Yeah.
on a construction project. If you have to do that 5 times a week, you're far more productive to do it 4 times a week with longer days.
Mhm.
And they are 410s. It
Right.
is 410s.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll find out what the, at least what the county is, because that's a good standard, because it's that kind of work that they're doing.
Are you-
Exactly that kind.
Are you saying the county does 410s also during that period?
Yes, not during that period. They do that during a much shorter period. It's not.
Okay, that's what, I don't mean,
Yes.
yeah, I don't mean the time change.
Yes.
Whatever their calendar says. Is that all people?
Is it all the work
I
for the
can-
county or just the people on the road,
People on the road crew, the public works piece,
Public
that is the
works
people
piece.
who plow during the winter
And they
and
change
have
it,
compensatory
and
time.
they transition over.
And then they
to
trans over to
mowing or-
construction.
Do you know,
It's like a
here's
golf
another,
course
here's another
in the city.
detail you might not know, but, if here, let's say here are 20 people in the public works department. Is there are all of them on the same 410 schedule?
Yes.
Like, so they are, really? So
Yes.
there's a day when there's nobody?
No Fridays. They do not work Fridays.
Okay, all right,
It's 410s, no Fridays.
okay.
But it's a celebrated day, as you can imagine,
Sure.
because it's kind of the start of summer. And, but it is for a very specific amount of time, and it is not 8 months.
It doesn't start in March.
It is not starting.
And when does it end?
It ends in.
Like September?
Either September or October, I can't remember which. But it's exactly the same kind of work.
Right.
It's exactly the same
That
kind of
would be a
work.
good model to start
It would.
from.
And it would be able to say, it would
This
be a
is
good
Best
standard to
practice.
say, best practice to say.
Be interesting to know what, say, the village does and a couple comparable
Yeah,
sized
the
towns
village
do.
would be another.
I think that they cover, like, I think those, it seems like from what we've read in the handbooks, they cover 5 days, but they just might shift,
Yeah,
between employees.
Your 410s
Like,
They're
would be
staggered.
Yeah.
staggered.
That's-
right, and I
So
think
you
like,
could do that with our crew.
but I think like with them, with what Tim's talking about, they're not picking up garbage from the parks, whereas our guys are picking up garbage from the parks. Though the employees he's talking about are only working on the roads. They're not the parks employees. There's a whole different,
They're brushing and.
Yes.
And
Right,
road
right.
construction and.
right.
but there's a different crew working on the parks.
Yes.
Like our guys are kind of like a jack of all trades. They're still working on the parks. So we kind of have like guys that are, yes, they're the road crew, but they're also doing the parks and they're also doing, so
And to me, that says 5 days.
So some of the things that they're doing, so it's like, can you get a part-time guy that can do some of that stuff, that can take some of that workload off, that could really be dependent upon? We just haven't had a part-time person that we can depend on.
But it would be someone more experienced or skilled at that kind of work than a high school kid or college student.
Yes,
Yeah.
and maybe if we could find someone like
And there are
that.
lots of retired, in general, people that wouldn't mind a half-time job,
Mhm.
you know.
And that might be something to shoot for.
In summer, in particular. What happens if something happens on a weekend where a tree is down or something, does Abel just get an emergency call and he has to come in? So there is a certain amount of that happens on weekends anyway, generally.
Yes, yes. He gets a 911 call.
Yeah.
So I.
Is that time handled the same way as snow plowing outside of hours, like
We
after
do
hours?
have it in here, that's this emergency call-in time. And so they're given 2 hours, they're granted, and that's pretty standard that it's a 2 hour, they're given two
Minimum.
hours, yeah, minimum to come
Oh,
in
okay.
to
A
respond.
minimum.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And that's again,
oh, I see.
very standard language in everybody's handbook that they're a
Okay,
standard 2 hour come to respond.
so do you want to have us all cover some or most or all of this? At
I
the,
mean, you guys can look at it. I think that we were gonna continue, Lori and I, we were gonna continue to work. There's other parts of the handbook. This was just the first, this was section 2.
Especially as we're getting towards summer and,
Yep.
you know, the coverage issue, it felt like a good place to start, just because it needed to be done anyway.
defined somehow, yeah.
And then that could be the.
So is this not something we'll be, when everybody's here, all staff
Mhm.
Will we
here, that we'd be talking about that on April 10th?
I think so. I think we should.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and just sort of like get ideas for how to solve our problems with coverage in general, just kind of get everybody involved in that problem solving.
Okay, so we can talk more about this. Anything else? Any other topic? No. Oh, there's one other thing here, just that you're closing.
Yeah, so on that topic,
Yeah.
we're gonna be gone. I'm leaving tomorrow for Texas, and then Stephanie has some family in town. She's obviously going to be in and out. We still are sending out, got all the ballots out today, but she will be in and out, getting the ballots out, and then we will start in person on Tuesday, in
Mhm.
person, and it should be a busy election. So, and then, yeah, so that's it. But yeah, we've got some vacation to use up still from last year. It's always busy for presidential part for us to use
Mhm.
time off, so like to try and get that used up. So that will probably be, so maybe sometime this summer, because again, we'd like to get that use. I'd like to get some time used up.
Historically, if you have vacation carrying over, are you able to cash it out or do you?
You know, we talked about asking, I'd like to try to use it. That's would be my preference. So that's what I would like to try to do. We don't have any more elections after now. Wanted to use some in November, but then we had that weird thing with the stupid village and
Oh, yeah.
we have to do the budget meeting. So, but it's okay. But we have no more elections. So hopefully some used up. So that's what I'd like to do. But it just involves closing the office. But I think as long as you set the expectation, I think, you know,
Right.
it's, it's out there. So,
They are not emergencies.
I mean, you have people, but the workload is our workload. And I think that sometimes people thinking us sitting here waiting for them is not a good use of our time. It's not, I mean, I understand customer service, but that's
Right.
not exactly.
There's a limit to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, anything else on that, anyone? And so that without objection, we are adjourned. Thanks all.